better than ever. And I know right now that I'm going somewhere and I need some cheddar. Oh, baby, better.
Hey everyone, it's Andre
not
Luck.
go.
Excited to introduce a new show that I'm starting called the Sports Sales Show. So I'll have a new show every week here on YouTube eventually. So probably live under like a podcast where you get or you go to listen to all your podcasts under like a 4-leaf podcast too. So I'll have some sports content, some just general content around leadership and growth and development. So excited to launch it. And I've done a ton of content just around sports sales in general, but I'm making an official show now where this will be for anyone interested in sports sales, anyone who's in it, wants to learn more about sports business, where we'll talk about how the best leaders, the best salespeople, they're driving revenue through ticketing, through marketing, through corporate partnerships, how they're leveraging ticket operations and analytics to just make smarter business decisions and help increase their revenue. So sometimes it'll be just me, sharing my insights and tips. Other times I'll do interviews and have guests, but look for this to be, on a weekly cadence. We'll have a new show every week dedicated strictly to sports sales. So with the first episode, I'm excited to talk about a topic that comes up a lot and, I talk a lot about, and that's around AI. And so is AI going to take your job if you're in sports sales? So if you had asked me 12, 18 months ago, I'd be like, yes, if you're not getting with AI, like you're going to be extinct and there's not going to be a role for you. But I think as more times played out, actually flip to the other side where I think AI is actually going to create more opportunities. So it's definitely going to take people educating themselves and getting more up to speed on how to use the different tools and like what's the use cases and everything like that. But I think it could be additive to your sales team or to your organization, because it's just going to help you work more efficiently and allow you to do more versus trying to cut cost and do less with or do more with less people. So I'm on the side now where I think you keep your same amount of staff, keep your same size sales team, and find ways that you can now help all of them be more efficient and achieve more. And if somebody's doing things that AI could do, yeah, you don't need to get rid of the head count. You just need to switch out that person for someone who is going to be more AI proficient and who's going to leverage the technology and tools to do that. So we'll touch on that, how other teams are using it within sports, those that are kind of on the cutting edge using it. So I'll touch on that in this episode. So the thing I've heard a lot recently is, like around this conversation, not necessarily to sports, but just in general, is that with each innovation, there's this, initial onset of fear, but at the end of the day, it creates new opportunities. And everyone's saying AI is like nothing we've ever seen before, but I wasn't in the workforce, so I didn't really see how it impacted me directly. But I definitely saw the benefits of this. So like the internet, from I remember my parents, they had this encyclopedia set. And my mom, she would always update it and buy the new encyclopedias. I laugh because now I realize like she watches all these, so she's definitely going to see this. But um, we never used that after we got the internet. Obviously we had AOL at first, and you had the dial-up. It took forever, but like now, I couldn't even imagine teaching my kids to go through an encyclopedia to find information. If anything, actually, my daughter was doing her homework, and I had her use ChatGPT to do research on a current affairs thing. Not that I wanted to help her shortcut the answer, but I needed her to start learning how to use this, like, because it's going to be commonplace in her life. And you can tell it was a little awkward for her because she's like, I'm talking to this robot. Like, she didn't really know how to prompt it, but with time, she got more comfortable with it. And it helped her come up with a new topic for her to learn about. And then obviously she had to do the project, answer the question, everything like that, but just helped her more quickly use it. So I forced her to use it for that instead of, making her Google something. Like, this is a tool that's going to be there. So, the internet was one that created more opportunities for people. And there was initial onset of fear. It just changed the way people work. Same with machines and factories back in the day. Like, obviously I wasn't working back then, but more jobs and opportunities are created, just different than what they were before. So I think this is going to be the same. Today, I think a lot of it's still the way it was maybe 2-3 years ago. But as you fast forward, and I'll talk through some of this here in a little bit, 5+ years from now, it's just going to change the way we work. And so I was actually speaking with a team recently where it's like, we got to get your teams. We're going to come in and do training with our team, and AI is a topic we're going to cover heavily. It's just, we need to get people, like, this is the way that work happens now. Like, you use AI as part of your work. So getting them around that mindset and wrapping their heads around, instead of being freaked out, like, is this going to take my job? It's like, no, this is the way we work now. And this is just another tool we have in our tool belt to help us work more efficiently and more effectively. So the current use cases I see in sports, pretty slim. Like a lot of times, and I've shared this recently on a post, um, the sports industry is typically, 3 to 5 years, if not more, behind other industries when it comes to go-to-market strategies, sales processes, technology, stuff like that. The situation I shared was in 2016. I was like, oh my gosh, ZoomInfo was like the best thing ever. Little to come to find out later that ZoomInfo came out in like the early mid 2000s. So I was already, 8 to 10 years behind that technology for looking up leads and prospecting, where I still have my staff calling gatekeepers and, hoping to get introduced to the right person. Like now you have technologies like that. So the use cases around AI are pretty limited within sports. The one I see with most teams, and not every team's there, but a lot of teams are there, are creating these sequences or these AI email personas that do automated outreach to your leads. So it could be leads that your sales team doesn't have the bandwidth to get to. It could be your best leads that you're like, hey, these really work to convert people into meetings or, get people interested and create warm leads and opportunities. So Wolf Cycle is a big one. Conversica is another one. So they have these tools that could reach out to your fans or reach out to whoever it is that you're looking to focus on and get to them more efficiently and more effectively. And what I like about it is you have a sales rep, a new sales rep. They don't like making phone calls. They don't like sending the emails. They don't always do the work. I shouldn't generalize, but some. With these tools, like you don't have to worry about that. Like they don't get sick. They don't take days off. Like they're going to get their 7 touch points within a 21-day cadence or whatever it is that you set up, and you don't have to worry about it. The downfall is it's only email, and sometimes the prompt back you really have to check and like make sure that you're watching over, but way more efficient than, all right, let's get a bullpen of 20 sales reps to call these leads to people that, one, probably aren't going to answer the phone. Two, when they do answer the phone, you're talking to a junior person that asks these very basic, simple questions that AI could probably ask already. Instead, you can use AI to kind of filter through some of the lower return leads or just the administrative type work that you'll get the same amount or better production from, and have them focus on other parts of the process that are driving more revenue, more opportunities, things like that. So at the end of the day, it should be a plus for teams to at minimum have that tool and implement and execute that, and you'll get your return on investment back if you use it right. Other ways that I've seen teams use it within sports, like Salesforce, HubSpot, they have these add-ons now where almost this like chat GPT style prompt you could put in to see where you're at with deals or get up to speed on a certain customer. Like one of the companies I work with in like a fractional kind of leadership role, they use HubSpot, and I could prompt it and say, tell me about this customer, tell me like the backstory, and it'll give me a brief summary. It records the calls too and logs it within HubSpot. So then it also gives me a brief summary of the phone call and the recording. So like really intuitive stuff that would have taken me like clicking through a bunch of different leads and everything like that to figure out in the past. So one of the great things about working from home is dogs definitely get their love too on the show as well. So, using it in your CRM systems, that's definitely a way that I see a lot of teams starting to use it now. But I also see a lot of people starting to build out more agents and doing more assistant type work and performing tasks, whether that's like prospecting and tools like that to help you just work more efficiently and do some of those tasks. So one thing that's really come up more in a lot of our consulting work is helping teams implement AI. And so we're obviously talking about modern sales, and I've partnered with Jake Dunlap. He wrote the book Innovative Seller there. He's got his own revenue consulting agency where he focuses on revenue enablement, performance, and just how teams can more modernize and be more advanced in the sales process. And one of the things we started to implement and execute is bringing AI into the conversation and keeping it very simple and just for teams to get started. I think a lot of people, they get overwhelmed and like, I don't know where to start, or just kind of do random stuff. So we're really trying to standardize like, hey, here's what we focus on. And there's like 4 main use cases. So the first one is around prospecting. We touch on how you can use it in the sales process, how you can use it to develop your skills more as a salesperson or as a sales leader. And then as a sales leader, how you can use it to best work and operate and lead your team. So from a prospecting standpoint, you can prompt it to give it tips and cues on like, or give it cue on like, hey, here's a website for a company I'm looking to go after, prompt it, the persona that you typically go after. So here's who I typically sell to. Just get up to speed very quickly on that so that you can have a credible conversation when you step into the meeting and that you meet with your prospect and everything like that. So it's really helped from that standpoint on a prospecting standpoint. And we show people how you could prompt it or build agents to help with prospecting and research. Things that would take you hours to do can you do in minutes, and help you with your messaging. In the sales process, whether it's objection handling or prepping for meetings and discovery and things like that, or maybe like you're in a competitive battle with another competitor, another vendor, and talking through like what are the unique ways that we differentiate from them, and based on what we've learned about so far in the sales process, or what we've gone through in the sales process, like what's our differentiator that we need to focus on. So that's one. Skill development. So you could upload all your onboarding docs and really onboard people very quickly and get them up to speed more effectively, more efficiently, where it doesn't take, when I did training and led trainings for a new hire, it was 2 weeks. We sat in a room and we went through our playbook and like flipped through all the different slides. And there's definitely a piece of that I think is still important. But now asynchronously, the rep could onboard and learn probably even better content than what I was able to come up with myself, and get up to speed more quickly on our processes. You could role play with it if you're in sales, and asynchronously just do more training yourself, so that you don't have to have a person. You don't have your manager doesn't have to block off time to do it. Like you could do these back and forth role plays and like really prompt it based on your playbooks, your call scripts, your talk tracks, everything like that, to make sure that you're hitting the things that are most relevant to your team and your industry and everything like that. And from a leadership perspective, I think it's great because you could build out professional development plans. Like, hey, I want this rep to grow their revenue 20% in this area over the next 2 quarters. Like build out a plan that helps them get on track and helps them do that more efficiently. And so now you could build out like a week by week plan with exercises, with topics to cover, talking points for you to have in your one-to-one meetings and everything like that. Or maybe you have to have a difficult conversation with someone on your team or your boss. You can kind of role play that scenario and just talk through and brainstorm ways that you can have this difficult conversation. So there's a lot of use cases from a leadership standpoint, leadership perspective, and everything like that. So next I want to touch on like where do I see this going and evolving over the next 5 years within sports. So I think this will be nice if this actually comes to fruition for salespeople. Is like I don't see them really having to do much of the sales process anymore. I think we'll have agents or assistants that can do prospecting. They could build and start the messaging, so they could send the emails, they could send the text messages. You can even clone your voice, so it could probably even do parts of the phone call process, and really just run the campaign in the background. You could reach more people at scale, and now you're only working with the people that have raised their hand or expressed interest or everything like that, and just show up and be a salesperson, not have to do a lot of the administrative work that it takes people away from selling. I think all reps will know how to build agents, will have their own assistants that are guiding and piloting them through the sales process. So from prospecting, like we talked about earlier, to here's how we execute our sales process, to post meeting and building out proposals, like really guiding them strategically along the way, and everyone will have their own kind of agent or assistant that's helping them with that. I think old school leaders, they'll just be extinct, in sports or out of sports. I was reading a LinkedIn post actually today, or maybe it was yesterday, where this is consultant that I follow, and he mentioned that there's a company that they were working with, and they fired their VP of sales because they wouldn't adopt AI. So it was definitely intriguing, the headline, but as I read through the post, it was this person wouldn't let go of their old school tactics. Like they did everything manual. They made their staff do everything manually. So things that took them, 6 to 8 hours could have only taken them like 20, 30 minutes and save them time to work on more things that are more effective. But like as an organization, they said, we need to move forward and this person is blocking us from doing that. So we need to make a change at the leadership level. So I think those are things that definitely should, I talked to a lot of aspiring leaders and a lot of people. I was thinking, what does it take to get to be a VP, or what did people like you do to advance throughout their career and you go on to C-level roles? And I think the playbook and like the roadmap that we took is going to be different than what it's going to look like in the future, because there were different skills needed and different skill sets that were necessary to move up and advance, where now you need to be AI proficient. Everybody's talking about AI. like they don't know how to use it, but everyone's saying we need to have AI. We need to figure out an AI plan, an AI strategy. So if you know how to use it, you're proficient in it, you can implement systems and processes, and you have the skills to be a good leader, like you're going to be in high demand because every executive wants to do it. They don't know where to start, so they're bringing in consultants, or they just have people just doing random stuff, but they can't really measure it. But if you can, come into an interview, lay out a process and a system how you're going to execute and implement this, and you have strong leadership skills, again, you'll be in high demand. You'll get any job that you want within sports. So I think learning that now is going to be huge for you long term in your career. And also, I think the buying process just continues to get more automated. I think agents will be able to buy their own tickets. Like I don't think you'll need a salesperson to execute a transaction unless there's like compliance of like running a credit card. But I was grilling in the backyard and I was playing around with the new version of ChatGPT, and I said, hey, buy 2 tickets to the upcoming game for the local sports team. And I just watched it, and it went through all these different websites, got blocked on the main team website, then it went to StubHub or SeatGeek, and then it directed back to the website. And it actually got to the point where it got into the seat map. It picked out 2 seats in my price range and like had them pretty much in my cart. And all I needed to do was execute the transaction. So little things like that are possible now. Imagine like what else can get automated throughout the sales process that we pride ourselves like we have to be the person to close the deal and execute the sale. That's not going to be the case. So like where do we bring value and where do we fit into this process and everything like that? So getting curious now and like starting to dabble in these things will set you up well for success. And it's just a little bit here and there, just doing a little bit at a time. Just really starting to understand, like pick one process and just get better at that one process, and then you can look and grow from there. So one thing I want to do on these episodes is call out either a question that I received and share that with you all, or maybe like a tip that I picked up on or a lesson that I learned. So one question I got that I thought was really cool, and it ties back to this whole AI theme, was someone asked, should reps learn how to build their own agents? So we kind of talked about that in assistance earlier. I said, yes, but I don't think we're at that point yet for most sports teams. Like this is one of the more forward-thinking modern sports teams that I saw out there. So I get that they're already there and they're looking to have their team build out agents, but most sports sales teams, like they have some reps that maybe use ChatGPT like on their phones or something like that, but there's no process. So I think that would overwhelm people. But I think that's the point we're getting to. It's like really changing your mindset around like this is how work gets done now, and you need to adopt it. So when we come in and work with teams, like it's less about making sure that they know how to execute all the skills right away, but more wrapping their heads around like this isn't going to take my job. This is how work gets done now, and this is how I work more efficiently and effectively. And it's not cheating. Like these are tools I need to learn how to use. So, so I think reps will get to that point, but I think where we're at as an industry right now, that's not necessarily the case. And we just need to get people just starting to play with it, starting to adopt it, pick one workflow, one process, and just get better at it. For our inside sales team, we're going to have you focus on this. For our group sales team, you're going to focus on this. Our premium team is going to do that. So just picking one use case and building off that. The other thing I want to call out on these episodes is, a shadow of the week or a recognition piece or something like that, or something cool that I saw in the industry I definitely want to call out and shout out. There's 2 teams I want to shout out, the Cleveland Cavs and the Atlanta Hawks, because they actually have someone dedicated within their organization who's focused on AI implementation across the organization. They work really directly with their sales team to show impact from a revenue standpoint on AI. So the Hawks, they have a guy named Aaron Lane. The Cavs, they have a guy named Ben Levicki. I've had conversations with both of them just to understand like how they work with their sales team and how other sports sales teams could leverage, assets like them. And I think most organizations need to look at hiring a person like that who's connecting the dots across the organization and building these different use cases. So I thought it was really cool that they're, one of the forward thinkers as relates to that, and they're looking at ways to implement. So now these people can have seats in really important conversations at the executive level about driving revenue. So if you're looking to get into sports and maybe sales is the path you want to go down, but you still want to impact revenue generation, here's a way to do that, because you can come in, understand how AI works and how you can implement a system and a process to help salespeople, enable them to work more effectively, drive more revenue, everything like that. and show impact and return on investment in you in this role. So I see more of that happening, but definitely want to call them out because they're kind of the leaders and on the forefront of that. And I think more teams are going to start to follow their lead, which is really cool to see. So in closing, I think it'd be very tough for me to go to, if I worked for a team, to go to my president, go to my CEO, go to CFO and say, hey, I feel confident that we can generate and drive as much revenue or more with less people, but we, replace them with AI. Maybe in the future, but I think today where more I'm looking at it is how do we, get this, how do we keep the same amount of staff, the same number of bodies, headcount, but get them all proficient on using AI so that we can generate and drive more revenue. So I don't think it'll replace people or eliminate people. I think you don't need to eliminate the headcount. You just need to replace that person with someone who's going to actually be able to implement it and be effective. So not a cost savings. I see it as a revenue multiplier. I think it's going to create more jobs and more opportunities for people. Just maybe change the way we work a little bit than what we're used to. So this was impactful. Definitely like the video, subscribe to the channel. So I have other content like this along with this that I'll do every week, different shorts and clips and things like that as well. And then share this with somebody if you think it was impactful and you think it could help them, whether it's like in a Slack channel or share with someone in your company or share with someone on LinkedIn. Definitely do that. But love to get feedback, comments on this. Any feedback's always appreciated, and then helps kind of inform like future episodes and things I'll talk about too. So as I say in every video to wrap up, like I tell my daughters every morning, go be awesome today. And we'll be back next week with another video. Thanks for tuning in.
That's nothing. I'ma be doing this and I'm gonna be head hunting. Oh, baby, don't know. Oh, baby, don't go. Oh, baby, don't know. Oh, baby, don't.